the time as 6:34. So we will call the work session of the Mayor and Council for the City of Snellville, Georgia, Monday, June 13th, 2022 to order. Todd Warner's going to be absent tonight. His son was tested positive for COVID today, and Todd's been around him, so he just wanted to, make sure that he was careful. So first we'll go through the regular business meeting. We've got the invocation by Pastor Darrell Collins. Okay. And then kids in his program, Gerald. And then kids from his program are going to lead the pledge. Thanks. The Trail Light program. Okay, and then we have two proclamations, one for the greenhouse team, these are going in, so we just lost it. And then one for the Juneteenth. And we have the minutes to approve. Mr. Gerald, Pastor Gerald will speak as an invited guest. Public hearing, we've got the second reading on the Manor Lake development. Anyone have any questions or anything about Jason for in the work session?
Everybody able to look at the updated document? I'll go over.
Yeah. They got the roof line.
Yeah, we got. I'll go over that.
Then we have a first read for CKK Development Services. So as I looked over this today, so it's a townhome development in front of Old Hickory. Anybody have any initial questions? So we'll waive that one and place it on the July 11th agenda for our next meeting. Nothing under consent, no old business. Under new business, we've got the second reading on the budget. And this is not a public hearing.
No, just adoption. You've got a updated copy, and just for your benefit, I won't really point all this out. Just want to make a couple comments in public. But if you look at page 941, that class 1325 is the assistant city manager. So I just want you to know that, and so towards the back of the budget on page 19, class 7500 will be gone once the budget is adopted. That's all zeros. That's the old economic development manager that we made the assistant city manager. So class 7500 will be gone. Class 1325 will be designated assistant city manager. And then very importantly, on page 9, you've got the only addition to the budget. Remember, we talked about road expenses. I'm sorry, page 13 and 14. 13 and 14. Starting with class 1565, parking, that's actually Grove common areas. 1566 is the library Thrive. 1567 is Market in the Hall, and then 1568 is the parking deck. Those are the four areas that we're going to be responsible for paying expenses on going forward. These numbers that you see are just partial year numbers, of course, because the deck will be coming online early, but everything else is going to be during the course of the budget year. So these numbers will change considerably next year when we have a full year of expenses. But we wanted to put this in there, and it's everything from maintenance contracts, building maintenance, liability insurance, supplies. We tried to use a lot of our same line items for those expenses. The higher numbers are going to be in utilities and maintenance contracts. So we got a pretty good estimate working with the contractors and working with Casno and putting those numbers together. But that brings your budget to that bottom line number of $14,696,337. So everything balances revenue and expenditures.
1565 is surface parking.
1565 is, I believe that's the common area. Those are the Jan put parking in there. That's the grove, the common areas that we'll have 50% responsibility for with the other owners of the private parcels. So, and we need to. She put what I asked her to put in there, but the line item names could not fit in there. So we'll correct that. But it's basically the same line items are in the other areas: repairs and maintenance, building maintenance, insurance, and whatnot. So, and all that this year in this year's budget comes to a little over $160,000. And we'll know more after we start operating and see where we are. But that's just kind of an overview. I won't go into those particulars. I just want to point out a couple of things in the public meeting and ask you guys to support the adoption of the budget.
Okay, and then I'm asking for a nuisance abatement for 1589 Beaver Creek Lane.
We've been there before.
Yeah. Yep. So this will allow us to move forward. Yeah. Unfortunately. And then we have the contract for collections on the property.
Melissa had just done a lot of research. This is a company that GMA recommends to communities. Rather than us filing the FIFA and doing all the work, this company does all the work for you, and we still receive 100% of our tax, penalty, and interest. They're kind of like a private probation company. They put their fee onto the bill. So we're just very much, we've checked them out, great references with other communities. As I said, they're GMA recommended, so Melissa's not here, but we wanted to put this on there so we could move forward with them, start setting them up.
Do you have any idea how many accounts we have?
There's about 108 or something. Really, we had some issues with a couple of big payers. We're almost right on budget now, so things look good for the end of the year.
Ooh, it's not bad. It's really
No, not bad at all. But it's just like Beaver Creek Lane. It's the hard cases.
Okay, and then that's it for the regular meeting. So we're going to go to the work session.
If I may, my discussion with the better communication with the council, can I move it to July 11th? Sure.
All right, any correspondence?
Yes. I need to update you. This is from Larry Kaiser, who everybody knows, and this is an update on the sidewalk project. I think it's important to go over this because he's asked for a public information open house, and I need everybody on board. He says, Butch, here are the concept plans. So we have concept plans for the two sidewalks, Skyland and Pinehurst. That's not the design plans that will go out for bid. We're still working on those, nailing down some utility issues. But he says we can sit down this week if you want to go over with you. And we are going to do that later this week. But he says I will have a more refined concept plan set for the July 11th Council and Public Information Open House. When we talked about an open house where we invite all the homeowners along the two sidewalk project areas, we talked about doing it. He asked me, and I thought it might not be a bad idea, to do it in the middle of a work session. If we could have the work session at 5:30 on July 11th, have the open house at 6:30, and then go into the meeting at 7:30, we wouldn't have to have another meeting night. Just come a little early that night, and we can advertise for that date. I don't know how many people will be here. There are about 78, I think, affected homeowners. I don't think there will be that many people here, but I just need your input on doing it that way to save you a meeting and give people till 6:30 to get home from work and come to a public to an open house where Larry will discuss the concept plan and answer any questions. How does that sound to you guys? Would that be okay? Okay. So we'll meet at 5:30 for the work session then, and then we'll have the 6:30 open house. I appreciate that. He says, I will also have temporary easement areas identified, which are important. The homeowners will want to know that. I have not submitted to Gwinnett for review yet, but showing these plans at this level may change only slightly after Gwinnett's review. So we didn't want to delay the open house any longer. We'll have another public information open house in the fall after a council meeting again, if you would like. I'll go ahead and have the signs fabricated and installed. They're going to put a sign at each end of the projects on both of the streets, and so we'll get the information out there, get it out. Brian will get it out, but I just wanted to go over that with you guys. So we're moving along on the sidewalks, and once we get the concept plans finalized and work out the last few utility issues on the design bid set, then we'll have a price update for it, a cost update for it. Thank you.
Any city attorneys involved?
Just briefly, Mayor, we have quality of life court, Thursday morning, so we're going to be those on that, but Councilman Warner asked me to Chuck to look into this bill for rent ordinances and stuff. Chuck is working on it, he's speaking with an attorney. It's actually a quality litigation. We get to that, we're talking about pitfalls and strengthening the adopted order.
Ongoing projects?
A lot of good news from the town center. The bid is now out for the Market Hall restaurant. The deck, the final walkthrough is this week. We received our certificate of occupancies from the county just today. The apartments are making great progress. They probably will be done in October or November. And leasing, starting to lease on the first couple of buildings. I think they look really good. I like the brick. I like the colors. When you're ready, anytime you want to walk through, let us know, and we'll let them know, and we'll go through and take a look. It's nice finishes. I don't think they have a rental number yet, how much 1, 2, and 3s are going to be, and they're going to be different because there are some ones where you have a view of the courtyard. There's some ones where you're looking over a roadway. So it'll make a difference. It'll make a difference. But,
That one, that's premium.
So they extra for that.
but so they're really making good progress. The Thrive lease, we feel like we're down to the last item in the Thrive lease, but we need your input on that. Jay has put together and handed out a copy of where we stand, and if you look at the third page, there's a yellow portion there, and the Chuck and Jay have made a couple of other changes to our benefit, and this is the last piece that really needs your input on the ramp-up period. He has asked for a ramp-up period in the last lease. It was kind of open-ended. This would be a period of time that we give him where if he does not make a profit, he does not have to pay his lease payment. And so this is a number. I don't think it should be more than 90 days. As I said, it was open-ended before, but this is something that you guys have to decide on. I just threw that 90-day period out there. We're going to help him launch his business as soon as we can. I mean, we're already working with them on some things, but we've held everything up until we get a signed lease from him. And so that is the last question that needs to be put in there. So I kind of throw it out there to y'all.
What are 90 days?
So I was gonna say 60 or 90. 60 or 90.
Yeah, I think 90 just gives it that little bit more time. You figure he'll be pre-leasing. The plan will be that he's pre-leasing and he's got a good occupancy. So it's initial costs and things you weren't expecting. I mean, just building up.
90 days? Okay. Thank you. In regarding the second floor, we received our credit, estimated credit from Reeves Young, and it was about $1.3 million, which is not a bad number. We're still reviewing it, hope to get a little more out of it. But that would be, that is the change from the original design to the wipeout plan, where there's nothing there. So we'll finalize that probably in the next couple weeks, and I'll update that for you guys. What we're working on now, of course, is the final design, which incorporates everything that Thrive needs in the second floor. We've had a lot of good give and take back and forth on what they need, what we want to pay for, and so we're like once we get this done. Heather and Alvin, our lead designers, will finish the design and give that to Reeves Young for them to come up with a budget number to build it. They're already working on a lot of it because they know what the lighting is, they know what the office space is, they know where the glass is. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, man, I think they were pretty close to telling us it'd be in the next 2 to 3 weeks probably. We'll have that budget number for building out the second floor. So it's moving on. It's moving on. And the library is they're talking about November, December for the library. And what they say the other day, did they say March for the second floor? March, April. So we aren't that far behind. So
Are they talking about opening
yes.
in November?
I don't know. You have the county and you have the library staff, so they have to get on the same
Okay,
page.
so maybe the building will be ready.
The building, yes,
library.
yes.
Books may not be in place and,
They don't always jive. We'll see. But it'll be nice to have the building, and the market by then will be will be recognizable anyway, as long as we don't have supply chain problems. And they're about to start on the two restaurants and then the retail space on Flower and the residential up above. So, things are moving on. And of course, North Side is going to get started. We have good conversations with North Side. They're going to start, within the next 3 or 4 weeks. You'll see dirt moving on the Wisteria, the other side of Wisteria. So it's really cool to watch. It really is. Let's see. The Clower closure, for the month of June, they were ahead of schedule until we had a little accident. Somebody ran through the barricades and the tape and everything into the middle of the roundabout this weekend. And so I don't know how far. They were not wearing a tie-dye T-shirt. So anyway,
How much damage?
and it wasn't the cop cap. It was so we're kind of recalibrating there. They should still be done before the end of June. Real quickly.
I just asked, how much damage do they do that it's going to do?
It's hard to tell. I mean, I think the inner ring is ruined because it's not level. The outside curb is not. There's some loose pieces there that were not. They had just finished the stamped concrete, but we didn't get it sealed. So there's some tire marks and some oil stains, and so it's just really frustrating. But Jay, we're going to work with Greg and PD on trying to get reimbursed for all that. But I think it's probably $20,000 to $25,000.
I think it will extend it beyond that 1 month.
I hope not. I mean, if they can continue to, most of this is the circle, the roundabout. So if they can get the Clower side, the south side done, hopefully they won't have to extend it. So it's things were going so good. It's just really frustrating there. I just don't know how.
They had to pour new concrete. Remember that held up like 2 weeks before they could get concrete.
But it's in the center, so we'll see. Real quickly on the other thing, sanitation, recycling. This is going to be an ongoing discussion. How to reduce the general fund subsidy. In talking to Melissa and the tax folks, we really have an August 1st deadline to be able to include a bill on the property tax bill for next year. So keep that in mind in our discussion if we're going to do anything there. Sidewalk improvements, I think you got the update there. Neighborhood beautification. Cleanup groups are active again. It's pretty important that we get that committee set up and set some guidelines because they've been cleaning up, we don't know where, and just dropping stuff off, and we've had to pick it up or it'd be sitting there for days. So we need to have some guidelines there as soon as we can. And I think, what's her name? The Clean and Beautiful lady. Isn't she coming on the 21st?
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe we can tell them. Because I didn't think the city limits mattered.
Well, see, we don't know. I don't know if they're picking it up in the city limits. I don't know if they're picking it out outside.
Some of their activities lately in the back inside the city.
Okay.
That's why I need to spend my radar.
No, but I mean, when they Clean and Beautiful, I didn't realize that they wouldn't come
We
with
do
it.
on the road. Participate in that.
So I think they just got a bad person who told them that they won't be there.
They may not pick up on this. So you just go out and pick up trash.
She's told them before that she will.
Well, we all need to get on the same page, that's for sure. We talked about ARPA funds. All the revised ARPA distribution is in this budget. Briscoe Park, we're working with Croft. The main holdup is the site work. Going to talk to Hodges and Hicks, who did the site work here, to get an idea. We feel like the number is still high. We can get the building and the building constructed for less than $300,000, right? I mean, that's amazing. There's a lot of build out inside, but why in the world would site work cost $2 million? It doesn't make sense. I mean, it's crazy.
If they're starting with a flat field.
Well, we have to extend the roadway. There's some utility work. There's obviously some paving, and fencing, a lot of fencing, but we just don't get it. So we're working with them on that. We're working with them. In Briscoe, we've got a great start to the summer. A lot of people are over at Briscoe. The pool is breaking records every day. I mean, the weather has been great, and might start to be too hot, but just a lot of. What's the summer soccer program, Lisa? Or is it a can?
No, it's a league. They do Wednesday night practices and Sunday morning games, but it's, don't exceed and things like that. To have
But it's really good to see that. Zoning category review. I mean, we're still awaiting input on the major items. We have focused in, and Mayor and Council's input has been appreciated on that. We still have some conversation to go. Package sales. Don't forget, we can't let that slide if we're pushing towards the November election. So we need to, that's probably one thing we need to talk about in Savannah if we have a little work session. I haven't been able to find any place. We may just, like I said, just grab a room.
Just grab, I put that on.
Okay.
3:45 to 6.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
on Monday?
Monday afternoon. We'll stay there until they kick us out.
Yeah, I don't think that was, I think that was the Monday after last. I haven't, if we need to leave.
That's fine. And then economic development activities, basically cobblestone. They've started the rehab work over there. Matt's doing a great job. You got a DDA meeting this week where you're going to start talking about lease numbers, rental amounts, and then we just need to have that ongoing discussion on larger property developments because people are still. I don't know that everybody has been back to see us, but I know Rosebud 78. You had a couple of conversations there, and so we need to keep that discussion going. But I'm sorry it took a little longer than I thought.
On the liquor store referendum, I've talked to a few of you individually, but I hadn't talked to everybody yet. But I did speak with someone who is interested in getting a liquor license whenever we move forward with that, if it gets approved by the voters. So you got to take this conversation with a grain of salt because this is somebody who's looking for a license. But some of the things we talked about was, and this is somebody who's been in the business for a very long time. So I feel like he's got a good feel for what's happening out in the world. But we talked about number of liquor stores. I told him we were bouncing between 1 and 2, leaning more towards 1. And his opinion is that the Snellville area could really support 3. I told him that my thought on 1 was because you have 1 in Grayson, you have 2 in Loganville, maybe 3 had those not already been in existence. But he said there's a lot of people looking at this area because in Snellville, if it's done right, it's going to draw not only Snellville people, but it's going to draw people from the Stone Mountain area. It'll draw people up from like in the Stonecrest area. It'll draw So if they're done right, it's gonna be a big draw. We also talked about square footage sizes. And honestly, I can't remember, because I read two. I read Commerce's ordinance, and then I read our draft, and I can't remember where we were. Because one of them had a minimum of 2,500 square feet if it were in a leased retail space, and then a minimum of 5,000 on the standalone. I don't remember what was in our draft, but he was thinking 2,500, you can't do a good job of that. It's just not going to survive. He's seen one that has opened and didn't last more than a year and a half. 5,000 would be the absolute minimum, regardless of standalone or not. He's thinking more 10,000, 15,000 square feet to really do top-notch space. Yeah.
I got that five if it's in a
Read space. And then the one other point was standalone versus allowing it to go into an established retail center and really, no opinion there one or the other. Of course, standalone will require more of the capital and require more lease. So that's what we're going on. So, those are just a couple of the key points that came out in that conversation that I wanted to share with y'all as we're finalizing the draft. Put that in your little heads, think about it, and you need to come up with that final draft. All right. Okay, so we postponed the communications and then the senior center discussion to the next meeting. We don't need an executive session, so is there a motion to adjourn? There's a motion to adjourn, is there a second? Correction? All in favor? Okay, done, we'll see you in there, 7:30.